Alright everyone, Cowboy Trades here. Welcome back to the channel for a quick midweek update on Bitcoin, the cryptocurrency markets, the news and the equity markets. We've got quite a lot to dive into today. All eyes are currently on Jerome Powell's speech, which is happening today at 9:30 Eastern time. That's probably going to be about an hour away by the time I do post this video. So I wanted to provide you with a midweek update and let you know what my thoughts are currently developing in the markets. I think it's going to be a big move pending right around the corner, and we're going to talk about why in today's video. So let's start off with the news in the markets. Like I said, today Fed Chair Powell is going to be speaking at 9:30 Eastern time, and he's also going to be speaking tomorrow at 2:30 Eastern time. Now, why this speech is going to be pretty important is because this is the first speech that Powell has given since he signaled that they are going to be pausing the interest rates in the last FOMC meeting. If you remember, after the FOMC meeting, the Fed basically said that just because we're pausing the interest rates, this doesn't signal that there is an end to the rate hikes, but rather this is just a pause before potentially more rate hikes coming in the future. So today is going to be the first major speech that Powell has given since that most recent FOMC meeting. So the markets are definitely expecting for him to reinforce those statements that he made after the past few weeks. So this is why today's meeting from Jerome Powell is going to be an important one. Now, some of the equity markets are already down slightly today, and the DXY is up today, but the Nasdaq is getting hit the hardest today, and here is why. There's basically been a report that the US is going to be considering to restrict its exports on AI chips to China, and of course, Nvidia and AMD haven't responded too well to this. If you didn't know, Nvidia and AMD, specifically Nvidia, are one of the only stocks which are currently holding up the equity market growth. If you're a veteran of the channel, you remember we've been looking at things like market breadth, and we've been looking at the participants in the SP500, which are actually above the 200-week moving average. And from previous research we've done in previous videos, it's really just a handful. I believe it was 8 stocks which are making insane gains this year, one of those being Nvidia. The rest of the markets are pretty much underneath their 200-week moving average and drowning under the water right now. And it seems like Nvidia is ready for a correction due to this news. You can see on this index momentum chart that I've plucked from Bloomberg, looking at Nvidia, we're basically at a very, very interesting moment right now. You can obviously see Nvidia is miles and miles above its Bollinger Bands, or at least it was until this morning when the news came out and we did dive back underneath the Bollinger Bands. Also, the RSI, when the RSI made its previous all-time high in the last cycle, it came all the way up to 80. And within the past few weeks or so, Nvidia came up to its 80 RSI, and it looks like it's now having that correction due to this news. If we're also looking at the MACD is even more overextended right now than it was at its previous all-time high. So basically, I'm expecting a correction for Nvidia. I think this is going to be bad for tech stocks. I think this is going to be bad for the Nasdaq. If you didn't know, a lot of S&P 500 stocks, the top S&P 500 stocks, are actually tech market stocks as well. So Nvidia coming down is not good for the equity markets. It's not good for the Nasdaq. And really, I think a lot of these companies which have just been, spamming AI in their earnings reports and experiencing insane growth, I think a lot of them are due for a correction, and this is where we could see that next major move back down for the equity markets. Now, moving on to Bitcoin and the cryptocurrency markets. Like I stated in my previous 2 Bitcoin videos, we made one Bitcoin video 3 days ago, we made another Bitcoin video 1 day ago. And in the video I did on Sunday, and also the video we did yesterday for Bitcoin, I pretty much was letting you know that I think the start of this week is going to be extremely boring. And you can see I posted this on Sunday where Bitcoin was trading around about 20,300. We broke to the downside, we broke back up to the upside. Today we're breaking to the downside. We're at the exact same level as we were on Sunday. However, we did have that dump, we had that pump back up to a lower high, just like we predicted. If we do zoom in on the chart, you can see I was personally thinking we were going to come down to the bottom of this green support box at 29,600, have a bounce, and then break back down after making a lower high. If we move this up, you can basically see instead of coming down to 29.6, we came down to 29.9, had a bounce. We still made that lower high. So, if I move this up, this is pretty much exactly still what I'm proceeding to believe is going to happen in the markets. I still think that we're having that breakdown. We already had that bounce. I now think we're getting ready to break to the downside. Stochastic RSI on the daily is still turning down very strongly since we were at 31,300. And the last time, we were all the way up here over on the stochastic RSI and we had a correction. You can see, we had about a 12-13% flush out to the downside. And we're going to talk about a potential 10% correction a little bit later on in today's video. But let's move on from here. here is what I'm seeing playing out in the lower time frames. I'm literally seeing Bitcoin coil up right now. Now, if we come over to the 4-hour time frame, you can see that we did just push up to this orange line on the chart. We had a rejection and we're starting to move down. If we come over to the weekly time frame, what you can see is this is one of the macro 618 Fibonacci's that we've got drawn over on Bitcoin. I've got this one specifically drawn because, interestingly enough, this one seems to be thoroughly respected. When we had our previous top back in April, the candle body closes 2 weeks in a row were right underneath this 618 fib, and coming into this week, you can see we closed just above it. We're coming just underneath it right now, and if we are looking at the 4-hour time frame, this was clearly resistance, this was support, this was lollygagging here. We were holding it as support, we flipped it as resistance. So this 618 fib round here, round about 30,400-ish, is definitely an important level that you do need to keep your eyes on. But in terms of the pattern that's developing, you can clearly see that we are in a asymmetrical triangle. You can definitely argue this is also a bullish pennant. However, if we come over to the 1-hour time frame, there's also an argument to be made that this is a simple bar pattern, a parabolic run up, spiky top consolidation, and a breakdown. No decision has been made on this yet, so keep your eyes on this. Technically, the apex of this isn't going to come into fruition for about 3 days. However, like I said, I think all eyes are currently on Powell's speech, which will be out in the next hour or so. If he says anything significant, we could definitely get ready for that next big move for Bitcoin. So personally, I'll be looking at this as a asymmetrical triangle. I think we've already had such a volatile move in Bitcoin to the upside that I don't think it's probable for us to extrapolate a bullish pennant price target to the upside. But what I will do is I'll let you know if we do have this break to the upside from the asymmetrical triangle, you could be looking at a Bitcoin valuation round about 32,800. That's not my personal prediction, just wanted to give you the price target of this. I personally think we're going to be breaking to the downside of this, coming down to the next macro important Fibonacci right here at 28,300. Like I said, a lot of this is dependent on what Powell says in his speech, so make sure you follow me over on Twitter, so if he does say anything important, you'll be the first to hear about it. Now, moving on to the total altcoin market cap, once again, like I've been warning you for the past week or so, altcoins are looking extremely weak right now. We closed the previous week right on the 200-week moving average, and as you can see, we are setting up a rejection on this week. The altcoin market cap is down about 1.5% today, but some of the major altcoins that I cover on the channel are just getting slaughtered day after day after day. You can see the altcoin market has rejected from the 200-week moving average. It's rejected from the bull market support bands, the weekly EMA ribbons. So all in all, I think the altcoin market is setting up for a brutal move to the downside. I think we're going to move down about another 8% in the next week or so. Bear in mind, a lot of the cryptocurrencies, a lot of the altcoins that I cover seem to be extremely volatile. So, you're seeing, Solana down 3%, even though the altcoin market cap is down 1.5%. You're seeing Cardano down 5%, even though the altcoin market cap is down 1.5%. So if we do have a wipeout of maybe 10% of the altcoin market, a lot of the altcoins that I cover are definitely going to have really volatile moves to the downside. Now, moving on to the total cryptocurrency market cap, I've noticed something very interesting on here that we have not previously discussed. Let's clear up the bull market support bands. Now, if we're looking at what is currently developing over in the altcoin market, let's get rid of this. We previously detailed this head and shoulders pattern. We broke to the downside and found new bear market lows for the total cryptocurrency market cap at 228 billion. We then had a reversal to the upside up to about 1.26 trillion. Now, while the neckline of this head and shoulders can be argued from the wicks or the candle body closes, it's also interesting to see that the head and shoulders was just above the 200-week moving average, and as soon as we had a solid loss of the 200-week moving average, we catapulted to the downside. So in the immediate short term, keep your eyes on around about 1.5 to 1 trillion for the total cryptocurrency market cap. That's a psychological level as well, so if we do lose that, I do believe lots of pain will be incoming for the markets. But here's what's even more interesting. If we're looking at the exact same neckline that the previous head and shoulders was on, we are now forming a new head and shoulders on the total cryptocurrency market cap. This one is a little bit bigger than the previous one. The previous one took approximately 154 days to develop. This one has been taking 175 days, and we haven't even come down to the neckline yet. The neckline is all the way down at 990 billion, so we could potentially see about a 12 or 13% flush out for the total cryptocurrency market cap. Bear in mind, the altcoin market cap is much weaker, so we could see a rather significant move for altcoins, and altcoins are definitely, in my opinion, still very likely to heavily underperform Bitcoin in the coming days, weeks, months, etc. If we do take the price target of the head and shoulders from the candle wicks, you can see this would be a price target of around about 745 billion. If you wanted to be slightly more conservative and draw from the candle body close breakdown, you could see a move down to about 776 billion. But judging by how the wicks seem to hold up the structure quite well, and obviously, the right shoulder was formed right here on this wick, I'm definitely thinking the neckline is going to be here, and we're going to have a slightly more significant breakdown. So that's really all I wanted to cover in terms of Bitcoin and the cryptocurrency market. Like I said, we're the same price as we were 3 days ago, so there's only so much we can look at. I'm not going to look at all the same charts that we looked at in our previous videos. There's no point. Nothing's really changed. I'm still predicting the exact same pattern. We had an SFP down here at 25,000. We had a huge move back up. We then sweeped the top up here at 31,000. This is looking like an SFP to me. We even confirmed the previous high up at 31,000 as resistance yesterday before coming back down. So once again, still the same outlook on the markets. I want to provide a super quick update on the equity markets. I did post this over on Twitter. We've previously been looking at the options market in terms of how this affects the S&P 500. We've been looking at the put to call ratio. If you want to learn more about options, if this doesn't make any sense to you, if you don't understand what options are, if you don't know what the put to call is, I will leave a link down below to an educational series update which I've made, which will explain what options are, what puts and calls are, how the put to calls affect the market from a fundamental perspective with examples. But from a technical perspective, we'll just quickly dive into this today. A high put to call ratio is bearish, more puts than calls, that is bearish. Now, we've seen divergences before in the S&P 500 where the put to call ratio tops out, namely right here, and the equity markets continue their rally. Every other time put to call ratio tops out, equities top out. You can see top, 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 top. Here we saw a top in the put to call ratio. The equity markets continued their rally, but now we're finally starting to make lower highs in the equity markets. The put to call ratio is starting to make lower highs. So this is just an idea, but maybe the S&P 500 divergence from the options market is over. And just like we saw over here, we're going to finally start seeing that next rollback down to the downside. I do also want to post some similarities between what is happening right now for the S&P 500 and what was happening in the 2021 bull run top. Number one, the S&P 500 quite recently flipped above the Bollinger Bands and had a swing failure pattern, broke back down to the downside and retested them. We did this in the 2021 top. If we're looking at the RSI in the 2021 top, this came up to 80 and then broke back down. You saw the RSI become significantly overextended when it hit 80, and you're seeing the same thing where the RSI became significantly overextended. You're also seeing a breakdown in the RSI, and the RSI looks like it's going to have a retest of this 70 trend line, or at least near the 70 trend line, just like we did back in 2021. And you're also seeing a weekly MACD flip that happened in 2021. The same thing is happening right now for the S&P 500. So once again, just a quick similarity that I wanted to point out. This is definitely interesting. Just like we looked at earlier with the Nvidia chart, where Nvidia is outside the top of the Bollinger Bands, I really think equity markets are super overextended right now. They're getting ready for a rather significant correction to the downside. In terms of the DXY is moving up strongly today. Not much has changed in the higher time frames. As we've been discussing on the weekly, we are sitting at this huge green box, which has been resistance since 2015. Resistance. We barely held it here before it flipped as resistance. We're finally back testing this, holding it as support. If we come over to the daily time frame, we are moving up right now. The daily stock is moving up. I do think the weekly stochastic RSI is going to start curling back up to the upside, just like we've done in a few examples over here. Over on the daily, stock has more room to move to the upside. You can see that we have just flipped above the 618 Fibonacci today. And on the 4-hour time frame, look at what's going on. More room to climb to the upside on the stock on the 4-hour and the daily. I think weekly is going to start curling back up soon. And we have a potential inverse head and shoulders, which is currently playing out over on the DXY on the 4-hour time frame. Now, if we take the price target of this inverse head and shoulders, this could potentially see a DXY rise all the way up to 103.9 from where we're currently sitting. This is about a 1.5% increase. So definitely, if that does happen, we could see a significant correction in Bitcoin and the equity markets. That's really just a quick update for you regarding the equity markets. Don't want to linger too long on these because my thoughts haven't changed too much since the previous videos. One final chart I want to look at for Bitcoin is, of course, the most important chart that we have been discussing. We've obviously been detailing that Bitcoin is underneath this huge resistance box, but we are still above the 200-week moving average bull market support bands and EMA ribbons. So we're really getting converged right now and squeezing between a lot of these important levels. What I do want to highlight is that the weekly EMA ribbons have just fired bullish. Now, historically, this has actually marked the start of bull runs. However, it hasn't happened without a healthy correction to start with. If we come back to when the EMA ribbons first loaded in, you can see that we fired long on the weekly time frame, and this commenced the start of the bull run, but we did have a 25% correction. As soon as they fired bearish, well, this is a lagging indicator really, but you can see, we obviously had a capitulation after that. If we come over here, you can see we didn't actually quite come back down after these were fired bullish. This did actually mark the start of a bull run, but we did have a significant correction. We had about an 18.5% correction before we continued back up. We then had the March 2020 capitulation. We then fired bullish on the EMA ribbons. Once these fired long all the way up here, you can see we corrected back down to the weekly time frame. That was a 21% drop. So if you're a veteran of the channel, you personally know that I don't think that this is the start of a bull run. However, I do just want to highlight, even if you are super bullish and you are thinking we're about to break into a new bull run, historically we are due for a correction all the way back down to the EMA ribbons before anything else can continue. This could be about between an 11 to 12.5% correction from where we currently are. Now, if we come all the way back down here and then obviously start flipping above, these resistance boxes, I have made an entire dedicated video talking about what I would need to see to personally believe the bottom is in. That is in this video here, Bitcoin bull market checklist. If you want to know exactly my thoughts on what I need to see to believe the bull run is going to be starting for Bitcoin, then check out that video. I won't recover this, but basically one of the main things I'm looking at is to have a flip above this resistance. If that doesn't happen, then I personally think, like I said at the start of the video, this is going to be an SFP where we've swept the yearly highs and we're going to come back down to the 200 week at 26,700. So that's all I've got for today, my friends. I hope you enjoyed the video. Once again, all eyes are on Jerome Powell. This speech is going to be out relatively soon after I do post this video, so make sure you follow me over on Twitter, so if anything significant is said, I will let you know as soon as possible. So for today, my friends, that's all I've got. Once again, hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to let me know down below by leaving a like and a comment. Share the videos with your friends. Help me get this video trending. If you want to further support the channel, feel free to click the join button on YouTube and become a member today. Follow me over on Twitter at 618_cowboy. Come and join the Discord as well. If you click on the about section, you can see the Discord is in the description down below. A lot of you don't actually know that we are running a Discord. I never really advertise this. It's free to join. It's just a community. If you want to come and join it and check it out, be sure to check out the description down below. For today, that's all I've got. It's been your boy Cowboy Trades. I'm out, my friends. Peace.